What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Learning Quick. I am super excited to have another amazing guest on, and Francesco, to talk about developer advocacy. Francesco, do you want to give a brief introduction to who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thank you, James. Finally, I am the guest and you are the host. Hi, I'm Francesco. I don't have a perfect presentation, but more or less, I'm a software engineer, a computer science degree. I love Docker. I'm also a Docker captain, and I stayed too much time on Twitter the last 2 years, probably. Started making videos about 1 year ago. I have a long series of the amazing developers that I've interviewed, and James Quick, of course, is for sure one of them. And yes, I like to share things. I like to share what I do. I like to document my life. I like to, also this new job that I just started 1 month ago. Yes, I'm ready, James. Today I'll try to not make questions because I have like the host syndrome now.
Well, I think you've been crushing it with content for a while now. And Samina in the chat is asking, how does one developer advocate? And the thing I want to hear from you, when you did like the interview with over 100 different people, it was such a unique thing that I think nobody had done before, especially in that time span. Like I don't know if it was every day that you posted a new one, or every week at least.
Yeah, if we go back 1 year ago, I had published my third
Okay.
interview, my third or fourth interview. By the way, was not something that I planned at all. I made my first interview the 22nd of October 2020,
Nice.
and I made another one on the 26th of October, and then 27, 28, and then I started to let's say to fill a buffer because I was doing like 4 or 5 calls every day, recording
Mhm.
them, and I was just publishing one of them every day. After 14 days, I remember that after an interview with Anya Kubov, I decided to commit and say, okay, I'll do 100 interviews in 100 days. And I ended in the 2nd of February 2021.
Nice.
And
That's,
it's curious that one of the people that I've interviewed, it was January, it was Nimrod from daily.dev, and now I work there. So this is an interesting story.
yeah. Well, that's we were talking about this before. Having so many different interviews with so many different people, you never know what that could lead to. So you talked about interviewing Nimrod, and now you're working at daily.dev. What's
Yeah,
it been like the first? I think it's only been a month or two, but what's it been like since you started
it's
there?
less than 1 month
Less than a
because
month.
I
Okay.
started the 1st of October.
Okay.
I have experience, not your experience, of course, as a developer advocate. So maybe you should be the guest and not be the host. But let's try again. Let's try anyway. I started as a developer advocate on May or June for another company, and now I'm working for daily.dev as a developer advocate. So I have a small experience, but I'm really loving it.
Yeah.
I don't, now I know that there is a term, developer advocate, but this is exactly what I was looking for
Yep.
even 1 or 2 years ago. So this is a perfect fit for me.
Yep. I think that's a common theme. Like I started my career as a technical evangelist, but that just was lucky. I'd never heard of such a thing. And when you're interviewing for roles, especially when you're in college, everything is just like your basic software developer. So it was just really lucky for me that I found out this type of thing existed, and that has obviously changed my career. Mark in the chat is asking, if you had to pick one favorite part of being a developer advocate, what would that favorite part be? What would that be for you?
Thank you, Mark. This question is amazing. My favorite part is that basically I can share something, I can share my content. So my job is no more just coding in a corner, but
Hmm.
I can share something. For example, I had, for example, to create the official documentation for this company, and the process of creating the documentation has been interesting, and it has been public. I've also coded like 4 hours, 6 hours live, so I can connect the content creation part with a job,
Hmm.
and I think that this is amazing. So it's not, maybe it's not, you are not a pure content creator, but maybe this is just for the people who are very good at creating content, and I'm not. So I like a lot of this position and what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty similar for me. I love the mix. I don't. I don't think I'm naturally just a regular software developer, not in a bad way. I want this mix of things, and interacting with people is actually a big part of what I
Yeah.
get out of being a developer advocate. So I love that mix of like social versus technical, the content, the learning about different things that's not just programming. But if I had to pick like my like favorite, seemingly kind of cliche aspect of it, it's helping people, like seeing people benefit from a tutorial or a live stream, or getting messages from people that are like, "Hey, I watched some of your videos, and now I just got my first developer job." Like that kind of stuff is so special. So I love being able to help people learn from a technical aspect, and also from a career aspect as well. Like that's one of the topics that I like to talk about a lot too. Is
Yeah.
it's just continuing to build and grow in your career.
Absolutely, and I think that I'll never get used of those messages of people like thanking me, like for maybe something that I did, video. So I also would like to tell the people, if you like some type of content, leave a comment, leave a like. Also, I don't know
Yeah.
on this stream, because that means a lot for a person
Hmm.
who is creating content, which maybe is
Yep.
more difficult than to someone can say. And just very fast before I forget, about this. A job which also allows you to create content. For example, I forgot to say that I worked about 3 years for the European Space Agency, which is an amazing job as a developer. I was a full stack developer there, but I could not share anything
Yep.
about what I did. So I was working on private repositories. Basically, it was like Neo of Matrix. I had like a daytime job, and then in the night I had to share content. And after a while, it starts to become stressful. So I've decided to take a different path, even if I liked my job. I quit my job on March.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's something I talk about from a career perspective too, is always keep your eyes open for the right opportunity, and don't be afraid to make a change if that makes sense for you. Get a question from Ellie in the chat. How do you balance the stuff you do on your own versus stuff for work? They then followed up to ask like specifically about my relationship with Auth0 and the streams that I do here. So I'll answer that in a second. But have you? It's kind of interesting as a content creator and as a developer advocate. There's so much overlap. So have you had any struggles of balancing like the content that you create personally versus the stuff that you do for a developer advocate position?
This is a great question. Of course, we just have 24 hours, so we need to find the time to do
Yeah.
something. My decision, what I try to do is that I try to wake up very early and go to bed very, very early, of course, because in the early morning I'm very more
Hmm.
productive, maybe less distracted from social media. And I like the idea that yeah, as you say, that I can also create some content for the company, and or maybe something for myself. I think that this also depends on the company. So maybe before accepting a developer advocate role, you should
Hmm.
ask, can I have a free schedule or not? Because I made some interviews. I'm not saying names, but I made other interviews as a developer advocate, and they said like, but maybe you should have some hours when you do our stuff. You should come to our office. When they said that, I said, okay, bye.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some things from that perspective to ask and look out for. Like I will never take a job just as a content creator. I'll never take a job where I can't continue to do my own thing. Like if I start to get if they want to restrict the things that I do outside of my regular work hours, that's going to be a significant problem. So that's something that would be a something I just can't do. I can't give up my personal brand and my personal content. Now the flip side
Absolutely.
of that is like having a personal brand is very beneficial for being a developer advocate for a company, because I could do something like unrelated to Auth0 on my YouTube channel, have exposure through my YouTube channel. People learn who I am. They learn that I work for Auth0, and now they've got more questions about Auth0. So there's definitely benefits to having that own personal brand. And Ellie was specifically asking about this stream. It's we're actually off. My team is today, but this is typically during like regular work hours. And I think the thing is like this is an hour out of my time in the week that has almost nothing to do specifically with Auth0, but this is still just more of that community engagement. And I think a big part of being a developer advocate is being a part of the community and earning trust from people in the community and showing them like I'm not just pitching that you should use Auth0. I'm always going to do the right thing by people, and I'm going to try to have a lot of fun along the way. So I think this is a good example of being able to use an hour in my work time to just focus on the community and the people that I'm working and talking with here.
Yeah, and I think that if you want to hire a developer advocate to just work offline, you are doing something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Agree. Yeah. Fair enough. Mark is also was commenting, I think, on some of the stuff you said or we said. Seeing your work out in public and interacting with the community sure sounds satisfying. That's where I want to get to. And I do only closed source work with a sad, crying face. And Mark, you're already doing a lot of that with Twitter, right? Like I see you and stuff all over the place. And I was on your podcast or stream. I forget like a couple of months ago. I forget how long ago that was, maybe more.
yeah.
So obviously you're doing a lot of the right stuff. Nimrod is in the chat, and he asked for people who strive to become a developer advocate. How should they start? What is the first step?
This is a great question. To be honest, I had not like a strategy in the beginning to become a developer advocate. I think that it's very important to work with people because if we think about the stereotype of a coder, you
Mhm.
work with an IDE, and that's totally fine. But if you want to be a developer advocate, that's not enough. You should make strong connections with people. You don't have to start a podcast, but that would be a very good idea. This is how they did that, for example. So work with people, connect with people, not just likes and retweets, but
Yep.
try to find a way to connect with them. In a strong way, because I don't like that on social media. There is this like I like this like the like game. So they try to force people just to get some engagement, but if if you work just on that, you just get some engagement and then you stop. But we need to think more
Mhm.
forward about for example what happened to me. So you create interview someone, or you send a DM, you make a video call. The more people you know, the more chances there you have.
Yep. Agree. Well, and that's like you're the perfect example of that, of having interviewed Nimrod and him asking or reaching out to you. And that sort of stuff. Like if at this point in my career I've worked with so many people in so many different companies, if I'm looking for a new job, like I don't have to go to job boards, or maybe I go to a job board, but then I usually know somebody at that company that I can reach out to. That sort of stuff makes a huge difference. And in terms of like getting started, like if your goal is developer advocate, well, first of all, if your goal is any specific position, reach out to people that are in that position and ask them directly for their advice and what they do and how they got there, and just learn from their experiences. And specifically in developer like it's all about content and community. It's all about being a genuine member of community, like you said, commenting on people's stuff, supporting them in their videos and live streams and things like that. It definitely is noticed by existing content creators. I certainly do.
Yeah.
And then creating content on your own, and that's in any platform that makes sense, whether it's a blog with hash notes. Mina is in the chat, so we'll give another plug for Hashnode, which then I said this earlier, my articles get picked up by daily.dev, so there's that too.
Nice.
But you could create blog
Nice.
posts, you could create a podcast, you could create YouTube videos, you could just do snippets and things on Twitter, be active in Discord and Slacks and just community stuff. So the good thing is, like, it's not necessarily easy to do all of that or one of those things, but it's accessible to do all of that. Everyone can do one of those things, and they can do it consistently, even if it's hard, even if you struggle with it for a while, even if it doesn't feel comfortable. You just keep doing it, and you'll get better and better at it to the point where it will lead to something, hopefully a career change for you.
Perfect. Can I add something super
Yeah,
fast, James?
absolutely.
Maybe we can also say what you should not do. For example, if you, for example, if you are complaining and criticizing and attacking everyone 24/7 on Twitter, maybe that's not the best strategy
Yeah.
to create some good connections. Maybe I'm saying something obvious, but maybe it's better to say this.
Yeah, well, and there's definitely another aspect of that where you can constructively provide feedback on things and do it in a way that's productive for everyone. So that oftentimes that's not blasting someone on Twitter in public forum. Maybe you send them a DM to say, "Hey, I saw this thing that you're working on. It would be great if it had this extra feature." Or, "Hey, I saw you do this one thing. Here's a suggestion on maybe something else that you could do to make it that much better." I think that sort of like first appreciating what they do and then giving your feedback, I think shows that you're paying attention and you're respectful enough not to just blast that out into a public forum. So yeah, I think that goes back to being a genuine member of community that gets trusted. And actually, like there was a learning experience for me yesterday, I think, where someone had like pretty blatantly copied my content from a YouTube video into a blog post, and I posted the screenshot. And I didn't intend for that person's name to be in the screenshot, so I regretted that because I didn't want that to be an attack on that person because they like apologized and took their post down, so we're all good with that. But that was kind of a learning with me with having an audience. I need to be careful because I don't want all these other people that follow me to then just attack this person for something that I think was just a mistake. Like it seems really obvious, but I think it was just a learning opportunity. But like with an audience comes responsibilities that I think we have to consider, and we have to be really intentional about the stuff that we share and how we do that. And that's like constantly a learning process, as I had one yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure 100% about this, but maybe you have noticed this by with daily.dev or not?
It
Because I've
came the
seen
first time I saw it was on daily.dev, which like I
so
want to be clear, especially with Nimrod here. Like there's no way that anyone at daily.dev could know that. Like they would have to
no,
constantly
but
be searching for these articles. But I messaged Nimrod and he was immediately responsive and took it down immediately. So I genuinely appreciated that.
so I think that daily.dev has done a good job because at least
Hmm.
this has been noticed.
Yeah.
So and the
Yep.
article was also good because that got traction
It
anyway.
did.
So
Yeah.
this
Yep.
means that the article was good.
Yeah.
James.
Yep. So yeah, that was interesting experience and had lots of good help from that, which is great. Mark is saying that the channel looks super professional. Thank you. I appreciate it. I want to change the branding again. I think the red is too red. I think it's too bold. So I'm kind of like I'm always wanting to change something, which is like I've wanted to move my desk around for like 6 months and I finally did it. So there's always something, but I appreciate the feedback.
I don't think that there is an end in this. I'm also
No,
adding some
no,
lights. So maybe I'm still in the beginning phase, but I'm
it
still
never
thinking.
ends.
While I
Yep.
walk in the morning, I think about what can I put
Hmm.
behind me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've got some shelves that I need to put up back here. It's a whole thing. It never ever ends. Mark was also just kind of reiterating, you need to be really careful what you post and which wording you use. You can offend someone without intention. And I think like my biggest thing is if someone says something offensive, is how do they respond when they get called out on it. I think that tells a lot about the person, because I can't sit here and say that I've never said anything offensive, but I think if I did and I was called out on it, I would take that as a learning opportunity and try to do differently next time. So nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, and I think sometimes we need to be a little more forgiving about that, assuming that that there's actually a learning opportunity on that person's end as they make that mistake.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think maybe the important thing is to don't just start flaming with everyone. Maybe take a pause,
Hmm.
close Twitter, take a nap, take a walk, and then you come back. You can
Yep.
clarify. You can talk with DMs, because I think that after a while you can also clarify with the people. But maybe you need to wait maybe just a bit before doing that. Otherwise, the flame starts. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I've definitely forced myself to take a few deep breaths before sending a message in the past. Samina was joking about the red color and me saying it's a little too much. That maybe I should go RGB with 25500. So all red would be a great color to change my existing red to. That would be much more in your face. Mark is saying that's a lesson that he learned the hard way. Again, like it's I don't know, having an audience is not something that people really prepare you for, and everybody's learning
Absolutely.
how to respond to that and how to engage with that constantly. So I kind of look at like there's always something to learn. There's always something to do better. I never expect to be perfect, but I will try to continue to get better with whatever I do.
Exactly, and of course, and for sure they not taught this in the school, so
Yeah.
they're learning this on the platform. So yeah,
Yep.
of course, we are not perfect.
Agreed. Yeah. Samina is also adding, it's so much responsibility. It really is, and that's why I felt bad for posting the thing yesterday that included the person's name, because I didn't want that to be an attack. So I felt some responsibility for that. Nimrod is asking, are you doing graphic design yourselves, or do you have some secret tool for that, for social covers and backgrounds, that sort of stuff? Francesco, what did you do all of that stuff yourself, right?
Uh, Yeah, and I think that you can understand when I do that. But recently I started to get some help. So I'm also hired a part-time designer. So for example, she started to make some pictures, some tunes of me. Maybe I'll start sharing this, but to be honest, I'm keeping them for Twitch. So when I start
Nice.
Twitch, you will start seeing some of them. But yes, no. In my case, I have a Q&A in about 1 hour, but I've done the style, so it's not the best. But I think I really like this style. It's very. I think it's important to make noticed, so to be noticed. So in your case, of course, you achieve the result because these colors are great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just gave a shout out, by the way, to your Twitch in the chat, so make sure to go and
My
follow
Twitch
Francesco
is
there.
my Twitch is very small. I have 24 people, but
But
the
it's
more people
coming.
will follow me, the
Hmm.
more I'll be motivated to
Yes.
start. And I
Yeah.
want to start on Twitch before the year ends. And I've just, oh my God, 2 months left.
Hmm.
So I need to work on this.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely having people like paying attention to what you're doing and kind of asking when's the next one is a great motivation. Mark, looks like Mark had to leave. Thanks, Mark, for checking in. Appreciate all the questions and the engagement here. I really do appreciate that. For my design stuff, I did all of my design stuff up until February of this year. And then I reached out to a designer, worked with her for a few months, and like a weird story, but I don't know what happened. I just never heard from her again, which is kind of odd. So Amy, who is self teach me on Twitter and on Twitch, who is the co-host of my podcast. Let me put a link to the podcast in case anyone hasn't seen that yet. But she is an amazing designer. So she started to work on and even like the thing that's on Twitch right now is a rebrand, and then we're going through but it was an incomplete rebrand, so we're going through like a full rebrand. We've got some other things that we're working on in the meantime, so it'll be a little delayed, but at some point soon in the next several months, hopefully there'll be like an entire new brand for everything that I do, which I think will be a lot of fun.
And I mean, also Facebook does a rebrand, so we are also allowed to do this, I think.
Facebook is setting the expectations. That's right. Yeah, the design stuff is interesting. I feel like as I've grown as a content creator, I want to have more people help me do the things that I don't consider to be my strengths or the things that I just don't have as much experience with. So design is a big part of it. I actually just started working with a video editor to do some basic editing for me to take a little bit of that off my plate. And the more it's really nice to have like to generate side income from the content that you create, because then you can invest in other people to help you
Absolutely.
take your things to the next level. So those are a few of the things that I've started to invest in recently.
Absolutely, James. Maybe I need the contact of the person who makes the video editing, because
Yeah.
I think that I'm also starting to think about outsourcing, because there is so
Nice.
much stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I do these analogies with like the rock star or a famous singer. We're not famous singers, or at least it's not me. I think
Or
that you
are
have
we?
done something. You have done something, yeah. But if it's better if you are focused on your job, you get help, of course. Also, as the business consultant, you can hire someone. The more money you have, you can focus on what you really like to do, and maybe what you really can do at your best, and also get more money for that, for sure.
Yep, absolutely. I agree. By the way, we had Matias is also your ambassador and has the Cafe con Tech podcast. So Matias, if you have a link to either, I was going to say either one of those, but if you have a link to the podcast that you'd like to throw in the chat for people to check out, make sure to do that. And welcome. Thanks for hanging out. And then Inhu Official, first time chat. Welcome, by the way. Thanks for being here. Says golden rule of anything is to play to your strengths and get other people to do stuff that you are weak at. And then Nimrod basically said, like, I appreciate that advice. That makes sense to add people that are strong in complementary areas. And yeah, like I wholeheartedly agree. I think like the next continuing to take those jumps and the content that I create come from leveraging the expertise, paying for the expertise. I want to make sure that that it's clear that I'm supporting other people in the work that they do, but paying other people with expertise to do the things that help me take this stuff to the next level. So I'm really excited to invest more of the side income that I make into resources and help for the content that I create.
Absolutely.
Got Matthias has a Cafe Contact podcast in there. Y'all should check that out. Matthias, are you still doing so the majority, and this is like one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done. I consider myself to be a fluent Spanish reader. I don't speak very often, and I did a podcast with Matthias in Spanish, and it was one of the most challenging things that I've ever done. But Matthias then did a series of podcast episodes in English. I don't know if that's been wrapped up or not. Matthias, are you still doing your English interviews?
Remember that when I interviewed you, you were talking exactly about this. So you
Oh, was
made
I
it
okay?
in the meanwhile. Yeah, if you want to learn Italian, I will be free of charge, of course, for you. I give
It's
you free lessons.
yeah, it's so similar. Like I could understand a pretty good amount of like words in Italian just based on Spanish, which I think that's really neat.
Perfect. Molto
Um,
bene. Molto bene.
yeah, very good, very good. See, Stephen Crates says, "Gotta leave. Love your streams. Wife got an overnight dinner or overnighter tonight for my birthday, so I'm out. Awesome, Stephen. Have a good one. Enjoy your birthday. Happy birthday. Thanks for hanging out." Matthias says mine is about to
Good.
come. Cool. So the English version of the podcast. By the way, I didn't tell you there was we had a team building thing yesterday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, and we did it like an Airbnb like virtual cooking thing, and it was pasta. So we made pasta with a granddaughter and grandmother in Italy, and the grandmother like spoke like almost no English, so the granddaughter was speaking in English and translating to and from the grandmother who was speaking in Italian. So that was really cool.
I wanted to be there.
Yeah. It was really neat. I have made I had made ravioli in the past from scratch, and this was more or less the same
Like
type
a
of thing.
tutorial, like a tutorial from
Yeah.
scratch.
Yep. So this is a pretty similar thing, but they had some good tips and tricks along the way that were very useful. So I'll have to do it again now that I've got a little more
It's
experience. So do you have either in personal or with daily.dev, do you have any specific like projects or initiatives that you're going to be working on soon? Sounds like streaming is going to be part of that at least.
Yeah, to be honest, has been a very hectic month because
Yeah.
the first month it's always
Yep.
the best or the worst, I don't know. But I'm no, I'm the best, or maybe they will come even better. So I'm working on the documentation. I started to understand how does it work. I started to use their Twitter account, which is very good. Interacting on
Nice.
YouTube. The good thing of the .dev is that they already have something, so they don't start from zero. So it's better for me than just starting from zero and build the first brick of the house. Instead they are already doing an amazing job. The team is really amazing. We do coffee breaks, we laugh, we talk about other stuff, our personal life, and I think this is very important to create a very solid team. Yeah,
That's great. Yeah, I agree. I'll share a little bit. Another thing that we did during our summit together as a team at All Zero, um, we did this thing where we had each person would say something they appreciate about each other person on the team, and this could go really well or like really wrong. It could be really awkward. It could be really cliche. It could feel weird. But this was like one of the coolest experiences that I've ever had as a team because we got all these different perspectives of like what people think about me personally, like what everyone appreciates about me, and then also the appreciation that other people have for everyone else. And so you get like this extra perspective that I just hadn't had. I think having a team that you're comfortable with, that you enjoy spending time with, is one of the biggest things that I would encourage people as much as you can if you're looking to get into a role to learn about. It's just who are you going to be working with, because that's going to be a lot of time that you're going to spend with people, and hopefully it's time that you really really enjoy.
yeah. Sometimes I make this joke, but maybe this should not be a joke. That when you get interviewed and it's your turn to make the questions, you should ask like, how are the colleagues? Are they friendly or not?
Yeah.
And maybe this is not possible usually, but I think this can really make the difference between a good job and a nightmare.
Yeah, that sort of stuff can drastically change just what you enjoy. And I've never really been never been in a situation with people that I didn't enjoy working with. So I feel like I've been pretty fortunate in that sense. But I've definitely been at places where I enjoy the team more than I had at others, and that just it makes it that much more fun.
And I think that this counts the double as a developer advocate, because you need
Yeah.
to feel comfortable with the team,
Oh yeah.
then with the users. You
Hmm.
need to, maybe if you are upset, you can still code a CRUD application. But if you need to I
You
don't
still
know,
have to be able to
maybe,
interact.
maybe you start giving some angry feedbacks to the users. That's not the best, the best idea.
Yep. Thinking about the team aspect, are there other, is it just you as a developer advocate at daily.dev?
Yes, for now, we
Okay.
will see. Because if we grow, we can also set up a developer advocate team. But
Yeah.
let's start small. We are just a
Yeah.
6 for now, which is, by the way, we have doubled. When I've interviewed the Nimrod in January, they were just 3. Now we are
Awesome.
6. So this is
Cool.
a good sign already.
Yeah.
And then let's see if we keep doubling every year. In 10 years, it will be a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I first saw Daily Dev, it kind of came out of nowhere. Like I just all of a sudden someone posted on Twitter and I was like, wow, this is like really great because especially if you're using the plugin and I open a new tab in Chrome, I don't care about what the weather is or like something else. Like I want to see tech stuff right there. So to have that I think was just such an amazing idea. And then to have the ability to curate all really good content in one place is awesome. And then to be able to monetize that through the ads, which I talked to Nimrod about this several months ago. I haven't actually set it up for us at Auxera, but it's something that was still in the plan to do. But to be able to monetize that through ads while still providing really good value to the people who are using it is just a perfect fit, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I need to watch this video again after, so I can take some ideas
That's
for
right.
what I can say. But and of course, this is also a free product. So basically,
Hmm.
I'm stealing my paycheck because it's free.
Yep.
You can just use that. It's very easy for me to advocate something which is free. I say like, if you want, you can try that or not. So
Hmm.
this makes my life really easy. I can
Yeah.
say this. I'm very happy. Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes back to like we talked about working with a good team is important, but working with a good company and product that you're excited about, I think makes a big difference too. Nimrod just said in the chat, you should stay tuned for some awesome new features we're planning to release soon. I was just thinking, I haven't done a YouTube video on Daily Dev, and maybe I should. So if you wanted to give me any sneak peek and try to coordinate a YouTube video to help promote it, let me
I
know. I think
think
that would be
I
really
think
cool.
that I think that I need to decide to say yes because Nimrod is in chat, but I will say this anyway. We'll do it. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's been one of my goals as I've talking about audiences as a content creator is to just help promote other things. So like Catherine Peterson, who created README SO and then got a job at GitHub. Like I did a video highlighting that thing that she built. I did a video about an extension of VS Code that is basically like a Postman equivalent, and that
Know that.
drove the extension up like
Yeah.
over thousands and thousands of views. So like I love to be able to use my platform to be able to highlight other cool stuff that people are doing.
Mm. Yeah, I can also say something which I think I almost never did, but there has been the DockerCon like last year. It was May, and I've decided to compress the 9 hours live stream in 20 minutes highlight. So I edited. It was like 30 or 40 hours
Yeah.
of editing.
Wow.
Then I posted this on my YouTube channel, and I thought, okay, uh, two things can happen. Docker will notice me, or they will offer something, or they will sue me. The first thing happened, and they made me I think this is related to
Yeah.
my Docker captain role, because
Hmm.
after this they noticed that I cared
Yep.
about the company, and that I really enjoyed this. So
Yep.
I was lucky, but yes.
Yeah, well, that's such a good thing too. Like especially if there's a company that you want to work for, like continue to publicly support and share what that company's working on. Like you never know what that might lead to. Samina is saying that Catherine is A plus. Catherine is 100% A plus, so 100% agreed. And Nimrod is saying, Francesco, that you have 100% autonomy to say yes to doing to me working on a video. And then Matthias is saying having daily dev on Chrome or Brave is the best way to procrastinate by learning something because you've got so many amazing things right there.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we are all, and also from the inside, I can see that we are growing. We are planning new stuff. So stay tuned because we are about to release also new stuff and new things related to the application. So let's stay tuned, and it's. I think that we will keep growing in the future. I have this sensation.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I would not be here for
Yeah.
sure. And yes, and I think that we are going in a very good direction. And I just would like to say good shout out to Ido, which of course is an amazing developer, an Acrobat developer, and but also we are doing a monthly dev. I've done a monthly dev some days ago, and they will go very well. We have been at the same time of the Next.js conference, same exact time, and even if we were about to sponsor them, but we have planned this like a lot of months ago. We got a lot of people, so it's interesting. It's interesting. We
Yeah.
are, yeah. I love the way also we how we engage people. We're trying to explain to support them.
Hmm.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Samina has another question for you. How do you manage advocating multiple places? In your case, this would be Docker and daily dev.
Mm, okay. Yeah, about Docker is something which is more related to my content creation. So as you said before, it's like out we can say that this is like Outlet Zero for you. So this is like my personal content. A lot of people they follow me because they want to
Hmm.
learn containerization and other stuff. So this is my part. And I think that I really like about the daily.dev is that since it just gets some sources and you can get a lot of articles. Basically, it's connected with everything. It's more or less like Docker, that it's like a technology that you can connect with a lot of things.
Hmm.
And so this is also why I like that. It's not like something that could ever collide with my role as a Docker captain.
Yeah.
I've thought about this before accepting, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a little interesting for me. So there's different words for the different places. So I'm a Twilio champion, a Hashnode advocate, have my job at All Zero as a developer. Well, media manager now, actually. I have my personal content. I think the good thing though is those things aren't mutually exclusive. So I can talk about each individual one in the right scenario. And if somebody's looking for like, hey, I need to connect this application with text messages or automated phone calls or something, Twilio is going to be the answer. If people are like, hey, where do I get started writing blog posts? Hashnode is going to be the answer, and then hopefully have that get picked up by daily dev. If people are asking, how do I do authentication? Auth0 is the answer that I'm going to give people. So I think it's important for me to have those things be something that are natural for me. Like I would never represent something that I didn't actually believe in and feel really good about. So it makes it easy to talk about them. And then I'm not doing that sort of relationship with things that are competitors to each other. They usually work kind of side by side depending
That would be a
on what
very
the
bad
thing is.
idea.
Yeah, it would. That'd be tough. Which is actually an interesting thing for me as I do sponsored content. I've actually got a couple that are coming out on additional CMSs, headless CMSs, and I've done some in the past. And I want to do all of these because I think they're a lot of fun, but I'm trying to find like a way to communicate this to people in my audience to say like, hey, like this is worth checking out, even though I've talked about these other ones because of this specific reason. Or just like I can't tell you if you're watching my videos what you're going to enjoy most. So it's almost like I'm just going to share things that are really cool, even if some of them are competitors to each other in terms of just regular content, not being an ambassador or a champion. So that's been an interesting thing that I've kind of worked through in my personal content as well. You got another question from Matthias of what do you think about advocate work outside of product focused companies like software shops or consultancies? That's an interesting one. I don't know if I know a lot about what that would look like.
I don't know if I know exactly what the question is about. Can you explain a little bit more if you know something more, James?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either, to be honest. Matthias, do you have any examples of companies that might be relevant that we might know to kind of factor that in? Um, yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to answer that either. So if you have any extra details, feel free to throw those in the chat. And then Samita is
Uh,
saying, She liked the response that I think we were just talking about. I advocate at two places, and balancing it has been tough, but also fun. Samina, what's the other company that you advocate for? Go ahead and give them a shout out here. And I think about like the Hashnode and dev.to as examples of being like really great platforms, both of them. I just get to I've connected a little bit more with Hashnode and the community things that they've done, and really believe in that. It has nothing to do with dev.to not also being a great example, but I can specifically say like I've just really connected with Hashnode and the things that they've done, so that becomes a really natural conversation with for me without having to talk about why you shouldn't use another option. And I think that's really important, because if someone were to tell me like you should 100% use this thing and not go use that other thing, like I probably don't trust them. Like a real answer
Yeah.
is, well, I prefer this for this specific reason, or I don't like an individual thing about another product. So I want to keep that really natural for myself.
Absolutely. For example, now we are using Docusaurus, which is a tool for creating
Hmm.
documentation for daily.dev.
Yep.
And they have on their official page a page where they explain about their competitors. They say like Gitbook and other stuff, why you should prefer that. So we
Hmm.
are very open. And they also say like, this is a good product. This can also be valid. So they
Yeah.
are, of course, they are not 100% objective, but at least they are trying to give you an idea of
Yeah.
also the other. I think it's also important for them to keep them in that page so they have an idea of their competitors. They are showing their strength. Maybe
Yep.
we'll do something similar.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Matthias is referencing Infinite Red. So I think Gant Laborde either works or worked at Infinite Red. But Matthias is saying they have a big React Native conf and do community work through open source and documentation. Wondering if the advocacy role is something worth looking into for software shop companies like to reach new devs. I'm not sure. Like I don't think I have specific feedback on that, because it's not something I've done. I think one of the things that's really interesting for me though is like Hashnode as an example. Like actually being a developer advocate for a Hashnode is interesting, because I almost think it's less about the platform itself. I think it more is that community aspect, because they do so much that's just focused on the community. Now, a lot of that takes place on the Hashnode platform, but I just think they do a good job of working with and contributing to and encouraging the community. And I think that's a little bit different take than um, what my job at Allseer would look like, because it's a little bit more product focused than it is like just building the community. So I think there's some differences there. But yeah, I don't know that I have specific thoughts on Infinite Red, because I know the name, but I couldn't really tell you what
I
they
don't
do.
know. I don't know either the name, but yes, maybe it depends. But
Hmm.
I don't know. For me, the developer advocate is what me and you are doing. So
Hmm.
I see also this word used, maybe also in other contexts.
Yeah.
But yes, so let's see.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have an answer for this.
Nimrod is then asking, might be a little off topic, so feel free to ignore it. I would never ignore you. Given the not so new rise of creator economy, what's the hardest part of being a content creator today?
I think that the hardest part of being a content creator is to be a full content creator. Because if you, sometimes I joke about this, if you reject all the offers, all the, you also stay out of social media because you need to stay out of social media to stay focused on create content. And you just sit in a corner thinking about the next viral video. I don't know how many chances do you have. So it's very hard to go full content on the content creation. So this is also one of the reasons also why I'm doing the developer advocate instead. So
Hmm.
you keep creating some content, but because if I don't know if you have if your parents are millionaires, probably you can do this for some years, but it's not my case since they are both teachers. And so it's very hard to just create content. Maybe you have a YouTube channel. Maybe you create a almost viral video. You get like 100 euros. It's not the best compensation for your work. So yes.
Yeah, that's been an interesting interesting realization, I think, for a lot of people of of how much money do you actually make off of YouTube. Which I just got my, so there's the first thing, and there's multiple aspects of making money on YouTube. One is just turning on ads. The other is sponsored videos. Sponsored videos are worth a lot more, especially as you up your prices. Um, but yeah, it's oftentimes less than people think, just the ads themselves. Which, if people are curious, I don't mind sharing this. My last check from YouTube ads was, I think, like $1,800, which is very, very nice to have as side income, but that by itself is not replacing like a full salary. But combining that with other activities and promoting your own courses and that sort of stuff definitely can be really lucrative. I would say the hardest part for me, there's a couple things. I never have enough time to do all the things that I want. I think that's part of being a content creator, is the realization that like everything is content. And we talked about earlier, someone asked me, have you shared like what your Twitch setup is? And my answer is no. And it's not because that's not a fantastic idea, and it's not because it doesn't make perfect sense. It's because I just haven't had the time to do it. So I think that's mentally really hard, to not be able to do all the things that you want. And then the other aspect of it is, being a content creator is so much more than just getting on camera and talking or writing the blog post. We talked about like investing in people to help do the design. We talked about video editing. We talked about marketing and emails. And there's like, literally, it's like running a business. Like, you're having to learn so many different aspects of a business that you don't really think about. Like, if you watch a YouTube video or you watch a successful content creator, you probably don't think about all the things that go on behind the scenes of managing all those different aspects of what they do. And I think that's really challenging, because there's things that I didn't know. I'd never had edited a video until 4 years ago. I had never done any design work until 4 years ago. I'd never created a newsletter until 4 years ago. So all those things are infinite rabbit holes, including all the gear and setup and stuff. So I think, outside of just the content itself, is that big sphere of things that go with it that are, just take a lot of time to learn and get comfortable with.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I think this is Samina or someone else before, at the beginning of the last stream, they said like, Francesco, you create a lot of content, but to be honest, from my point of view, I create less content than I wish. Sometimes
Yeah.
I almost feel, yeah, maybe it's good for me when I create maybe the newsletter and I start looking how many videos and how many content I create, I feel better. So basically, I'm doing the newsletter to feel better. That at least
Yeah.
I have a recap of what I did, because sometimes I'm so focused on creating content or making calls or more. So I really wanted to do this live stream. Next week also will be almost crazy, but okay. Yes, so maybe, I don't know, like one day maybe we will stop. I'll check what we have done. But when you are super focused on content, you don't have time to stop and just I don't know, like brag or something like that. Now we are working. I don't know. We will see.
Yeah, I think so. One, a tip that I've got for people that I try to embrace for myself is, if you don't take dedicated time to look back at what you have accomplished, you often will overlook it and not appreciate yourself enough. So that is something that I think you have to be really intentional. You have to like really take a pause and spend some time thinking about those accomplishments, and give yourself, just appreciation for the stuff that you've been doing. So that's something that I would definitely encourage people to do, because like, no matter, you mentioned like, we probably always wish we created more content, but there's so many people that ask me that, like, how do you do so many things, just like you just said. And so it's very impressive, to someone else, right? And sometimes you need to take that perspective and just be impressed and appreciative of the work that you do.
Yeah, and I think that the the grass of the neighborhood is always greener. If I start scrolling on Twitter, I see so many accomplished, so people are releasing amazing videos, stunning editing, something very specific, very technical. So, but I think it's okay. We all have our part, our niche, where we are strong, where we are weak. We also maybe would like also to watch some content sometimes, also to get, of course, always stay updated, even if you can use, of course, the little dev to stay updated, but it's very important to stay updated daily. I'm not saying this because I wear this hoodie as a developer. It's very, very important. If I have some friends of mine, they are just focused on job and coding. After 3 years, they start to struggle So it's very important to
Yep.
stay updated, and of course also create content. It's hard, it's hard, but there is one good point is that you are
Never
never
bored.
bored.
Yep.
Yeah, never
Exactly.
never been
Yeah.
bored. You know, about some days ago, Nimrod made me notice that on Monday is a holiday here in Italy.
I
I
saw
didn't
this.
even
Yeah.
thought about that. So this is a good sign that I'm doing something which I
Hmm.
really enjoying. Maybe I think remember that when I was doing the other full-time job, I was like craving for
The
that
holidays.
holiday.
Yep.
Now it's totally different, and it's okay. It's great.
Agreed. Yeah, that's an absolutely fantastic position to be in. We're at the hour, so we'll do one more question for you, and then we'll wrap it up. But Nimrod asks another follow up question. What do you think the future holds for social audio? Thinking about Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, etc.
I want to say that I'm not Twitter Space addicted, and I can stop whenever I want. But tomorrow I'll make a Twitter Space. So this is really it's very interesting media. It's what I call also an easy an
Hmm.
easy piece of content. So it's easy for the person who creates the content. It's very nice to listen to, and also what we're doing now, this is not like we had to prepare for
Yep.
weeks. We
Yep.
didn't even had a list of questions. So I think that this sort of content can really matter in the future, especially Twitter Spaces. It's something we need still are working for the first official, let's say, Twitter Space of daily.dev, but for sure this is something that we will take care about.
Yep. Yeah.
Don't worry, Nimrod.
I love Twitter Spaces. I really enjoy those. I think they're just so accessible for people. Like as they're scrolling Twitter. Oh, like one of my favorite content creators is live and talking. So I think that's really cool. I really wish you had the ability to comment during a Twitter space. I think that's a really missing feature, because if I'm on a panel, I don't want to overstep and talk too much. So I really wish I could just like add a few comments and text and people could watch like a chat. I think there should be that. And I'm kind of
I've
I just feel like
seen,
it's missing. So I would like to have that as a
yeah, this
feature.
feature is missing. I've seen someone who maybe they link a tweet on the Twitter space, and some
Yep.
people can comment on that. This is
Yeah.
what we have now. This is not a Twitch chat, of
Yep.
course. And yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it would be important first of all to fix the Twitter spaces bugs and then add some
Yeah. And then
features.
and then add
Please,
features. Yeah.
I think that
Um,
I think that Twitter has just one developer on Twitter Spaces, so to develop the
That's
bugs,
funny.
to solve the
Yeah.
bugs.
Um, so that to me is like number one missing feature for me. Now the interesting thing about asking about audio is like we're not just limited to Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse, and this is, I think, Francesco, what you were getting out. This is audio too, right? Like we're on video, but someone could just as easily tune into this stream, put it on another tab, and just listen to us chatting. So I think like that's audio.
Yes.
I think in terms of like social stuff that's productive or can be productive for like building an audience and exposure and that sort of stuff, I'm really pretty big on TikTok now. Like I didn't get into TikTok until a few months
This
ago. And I think
notice
that's
that
a
you're
really
crushing it.
cool place to be. And you got to think about like times are changing, and like as new people are getting into programming and they're in high school or college or just in their 20s or whatever, like they're younger, they're probably on TikTok. That's probably where they are, and they're probably used to that short form content on a regular basis. And so like if you tap into like not only where people are now, which is a lot of Twitter, I think, but also like where are people going to continue to be more involved in, I think TikTok is definitely one of those big ones. So I love Twitter
Yeah.
Spaces. I love doing live streams. And then TikTok is another big one for
I
me.
just want to say that I'm a big fan of James TikToks, and I watch all of them, but I think that I watch them on Twitter. So I try to
No, when
don't
I
open
post,
that
yeah.
application, otherwise my day stops. But I want to say that I'm really a big fan of you. I've watched all of them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I need to get. I haven't actually done like like a funny one in a little while, so I need to get back to doing some of those. But yeah, it's a fun space to be. I've always considered myself to be really funny. Like it doesn't probably is not very obvious in like YouTube videos and streams sometimes, but TikTok is a cool way for me to kind of embrace the humor side.
Yeah. I also have some crazy periods. I've had, I think, a couple of months ago. Now I'm more calm. Yeah, I always say that if I ever, yeah, make a lot of money, probably I'll just stop and make some funny videos. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
but
Yeah.
it's funny. Yeah, it's great to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's one of the hardest thing to do something, a funny video or something funny. It's hard. It's hard.
It's fun. It is fun though. Um, so yeah, I think that will that'll do it. This has been fun. I appreciate you joining and chatting, and I really appreciate all the questions that we've got in the chat. I think this has been one of the more active ones where we talked about we didn't prepare anything. I've got notes and questions and things to make sure, just in case there's a lull, that we can keep the conversation going. But this is really kind of driven by chat, which is really cool. So thanks everyone for asking questions and participating. Hope you enjoyed it. Francesco, thank you again for joining me. Looking forward to awesome content that you end up doing on Twitch sometime soon, and on
Cool.
YouTube and Twitter and all the other places. Um,
Perfect.
I am going to rate us over to. I'm going to rate us over to Trost Codes. Alex Trost is a developer advocate at Prismic. He's one of my favorite streamers. So I'm going to send everybody over that way. Hopefully that
Nice.
goes through. Yep.
I
So we'll
still
send
have to
everybody
make
there.
my I still
Sorry,
have
go
to
ahead.
make my very first ride. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, raids are pretty awesome. They have helped me out in the past by bringing a big raid to my channel and having some extra exposure to the stuff that I do. Anyway, yeah, thanks again, everybody. Appreciate it. I'll send you over to Trost
bye bye.
Codes, and we'll catch you later.
Perfect. Bye bye.